So supposedly, there's this old legend that claims when you engage someone in combat, and during the fight you make good use of the fishing rod, something very curious, something very magical will happen. Let's check it out for ourselves.
Oh my god, you cheap squat, get a life, kid! I bet you live in your parents' basement, I'm reporting you for Rod's bad! Stop spamming Rod! What if you have no job? Stupid Rodspammers, I hate Rods are cheap!
No doubt all you folks will have encountered the very angry individuals who, after death or after any fight really, they complain that you're rod spamming, which is supposedly using your fishing rod a lot in a fight. There exists a lot of people who heavily dislike rod spam, they complain a lot about it, but really, I do not believe all this whining makes sense, I don't think it's justified. So allow us to look into some of the general arguments against rod spamming and break them down. Rod spamming is cheap, it's unfair, people say this often, and I like to ask, well how? How is it unfair in an objective sense? And usually there's no answer, because rod spam is in fact completely fair. In any game, people have equal access to the fishing rod, and everyone has equal opportunity to use it as much as they wish and however they like. Gladiators, survival games, Skywars, etc. You can all get fishing rods. They're not assigned to a specific kit. It's like bows. People complain about bow spamming being cheap, but everyone can get a bow and fire it. I don't see what's so unfair about this. And so here we have another so-called argument, which is that only bad players, only noobs rod spam. But if that's true, why are you complaining? Because to my understanding, if someone's bad, their strategies should not be effective, and you should be able to easily kill them, right? This rod spam thing should be no problem if bad people are doing it. But let's get a parallel situation in here. You say, for example, only bad players use Axeman, the default survival games kit, because they don't know any better, right? And that's really a situation where only bad players use Axeman. Now, quick disclaimer, this isn't actually true. There are really good survival games players who utilize Axeman to the fullest. I'm just using this as a general stereotype. And so anyway, you understand that no one really complains about bad Axemen, right? They're not an issue, you never get killed by them, because they're bad. And that's the difference, because when people say, oh, you're a bad rod spammer, you're a noob, it's actually quite the opposite of what they mean. But I understand what people are trying to get at. They're trying to say, oh, you're bad, the only reason you won is because you rod spammed. Oh, well, that's really a lame excuse, because rod spam actually does take a level of skill. You can't spam your rod straight up into the air, you can't like throw it all over the place anywhere and just win fights automatically. You actually have to aim and predict where people are moving, just like bows. So these people are not bad. In fact, when you call people who kill you bad, that makes you worse, because it means a bad player killed you. You just insulted yourself. Good work. And some people still haven't caught on to this irony yet and continue to insult their killers. So of course, with that said, there's going to be people who argue that rod spam is overpowered. But there's a simple fix for this, and that's just rod spam back. Fighting fire with fire doesn't always work, but in this situation it does, because everyone can get a rod, so everyone can rod spam. So, you know, just rod spam away and you should be fine. And then some people might bring up this stinky little argument about, oh, but I don't like to rod spam, it's cheap and noob, and I'm not cheap. Which is usually just a bad excuse for those who are just straight up bad at using the rod. But there do exist a few people, I do assume, that actually genuinely don't like using rods for whatever reason. They don't think it's fun, I don't know, they prefer just straight up regular PvP. Well then I ask, why are you here where rod PvP is allowed and encouraged? There are tons of other servers and game modes out there that offer rodless PvP. Hereby, for example. You have the pick of the litter out here. What people are doing with this argument is, essentially, let's say they're at their food court, and they have like 10 different choices. They can have a sushi, pizza, hot dogs, noodles, tacos, whatever, and they decide, well, I really hate sushi, I just can't stand it. And then they proceed to go order some sushi. Like, logic, where? And then we have people who say rod spam is annoying. They complain about it because it's a nuisance, it's an annoyance. But to be completely truthful, any strategy that's used and is used well should be annoying to the other person. That's a sign that the strategy is working and they're playing well. Dying is annoying. That's one of the most basic examples, because when you're killing people, well, you're annoying them, right? And you're doing it well. You could call any strategy, any playstyle annoying. It's not an argument even, it's an opinion, for God's sakes. Rod spamming is not even usually that effective at all, and when it is, it's going to be because the rod spammer is really good with the rod, and so I think they deserve to get good results from their practice. As long as you don't run in a straight line towards the guy, you shouldn't really be getting hit by the rod that often. It's really not that big of a deal, so if you are complaining about this, it kinda says something about your skill level. Rod spam complaints are only a part of the real issue here, the real issue being rage in general. Like, Trash talk is bad. Complaining after death is bad. Don't do it. You look like a jerk and you'll get muted. And when you do complain after death, what it truly means is that you're insecure about your skills as a player. You yourself want to think you're a good player. You want others to think you're a good player. So to mask your mistakes, you need a scapegoat like Rodspam. Because if you're a good player, you don't make mistakes, right? Wrong. Good players actually admit their mistakes, and to become a good player, this is a good place to start. But this is a whole other can of beans, and I've gone into this argument in a lot of previous Excuse Me videos. I recommend you go watch those actually, and I have kind of repeated some old arguments from those videos, so I hope you young lads have learned to be less lousy today. Do not complain about rod spam, do not complain in general. Enjoy your breakfast, everybody.